Good evening, everyone. My name is James Langer. I'm the digital content manager at channel3000.com. Hopping on here for some live election night coverage as we are starting to get some primary results in after polls closing at about 8 p.m. So I have here pulled up our results page over at channel3000.com, and this will update live as results are counted. So head over to channel3000.com, click the top of the page there. You're going to see the links for the election results, and we are starting to get these numbers updated in as counties across the state start to tabulate these votes. So you can see right now, of course, we're following, one of the many races we're following tonight is the Republican primary for governor between Tim Michels and Rebecca Kleefisch, expected to be the top two contenders there, but also following the U.S. Senate race in the Democrat side. And as you can see here already, just about less than a half an hour after polls close, Mandela Barnes, the lieutenant governor of Wisconsin, is being declared the winner of the Democratic primary. So he will go on to face Senator Ron Johnson in the November general election. Obviously, following up, or in the weeks leading up to this election, we saw quite a few of the rivals that Barnes was running against drop out of the race and then endorse him. And they all came in pretty much quick succession a few days apart. First, Tom Nelson, the Outagamie County executive, dropped out of the race, saying his campaign lost money. Then Milwaukee Bucks executive Alex Lasry dropped out, saying he thought it was best to step aside and throw his support behind Mandela Barnes. And then 2 days after that, Wisconsin State Treasurer Sarah Godlewski also dropped out of the race, all but clearing the way for Mandela Barnes to become the Democratic nominee for U.S. Senate. And as we saw here right now, as these results really started coming in from Madison and Milwaukee really early, basically clinching that victory for Mandela Barnes early. So the Associated Press has already called this, as you see here, as of 8:27 p.m., Mandela Barnes will face Ron Johnson for the U.S. Senate seat in November. This is going to be one of the most watched Senate races in the entire country, probably going to be one of the biggest, most expensive campaigns on both sides. Both the Democrat and Republican parties realize how important this seat is, with the Senate split 50-50 right now. So a lot of money is going to be coming into both sides of this campaign. We're going to be seeing a lot of ads for the next 3 months leading up to this race as both Republicans and Democrats really focus on this Senate seat. Democrats feel Ron Johnson is vulnerable, but Senator Johnson and his campaign really feels like they can run a campaign basically saying that there is what they are, what is standing between some of the policies that Democrats want to pass in the Senate. So it's going to be a very hotly contested, very close race in this Senate campaign, and it's definitely going to be one that we're going to be hearing from pretty quickly. And already Ron Johnson also out with a statement tonight on Mandela Barnes's win, basically repeating some of the lines that we've seen from his campaign already, in terms of linking Mandela Barnes to Democrats and President Joe Biden's policies. So we have an article up on channel3000.com about this win with some more of that context. So head to our homepage as well while you're checking out those election results and see what Ron Johnson's saying about this. And we are also standing by waiting for Mandela Barnes to speak here. Here's a live look at his election party in Milwaukee as they are waiting for him to speak. So obviously, very excited crowd there after the race being called after just less than a half an hour, really, here on
Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes, who is now the Democratic candidate for U.S.
And I don't think we've talked yet about the two Democrats who are vying in this primary. Hang Hair is actually an interesting, he's got an interesting backstory. He's a small business owner, but he is a first-generation American who was born in Laos during the Vietnam War.
As we continue to monitor some of these other races that are going on. So you see in the U.S. House on the Democrat side, a lot of uncontested races called already. Mark Pocan of Madison had no opponent. He'll advance in the election there. Gwen Moore, Milwaukee, also likewise uncontested there. another side, or another race in the Democratic side that we're following, is the lieutenant governor's race. So obviously, with Mandela Barnes choosing to run for U.S. Senate and now winning that nomination, Governor Tony Evers is going to need a new running mate in November. So the race here is between State Representative Sarah Rodríguez and Peng He, who is leader of a Hmong organization here in Madison. So this race not called yet, as you can see, still only less than 3% of votes counted there. But as of now, Sarah Rodríguez with a pretty sizable lead there. We're going to continue to watch that race as well. Another one on the Democratic side, State Secretary of State. Doug LaFollette's held this seat since about 1978. So this is a job that he's really become synonymous with. But the intrigue here in this race is Republicans have basically voiced that if they were to win this seat in November, and we're going to check those primary results in a second here, but if Republicans were to take the Secretary of State office, they would look at possibly restoring some of the powers of that office to possibly have that state Secretary of State oversee state elections like they do in some other states. That's not the case here in Wisconsin right now. Over the years, the powers of that office have really been stripped away, and now it's more of a ceremonial role, really, where the state Secretary of State will add the state seal to executive orders and that kind of thing. So we're definitely taking a look at that race because Doug LaFollette is facing a primary challenger, given that context. So Alexia Sabor in contention here as well. You see, again, there, only about 6% of votes have been counted right now. So that's another race that we're going to be keeping an eye on. Also, Wisconsin State Treasurer, as we mentioned, Sarah Godlewski ran for Senate and ended up dropping out of that race. But this race now open here between Erin Richardson, Jillian Bettino, and Angelito Tenorio. So a three-way race there, only 2.4% of votes counted in that race. Let's hop over to the Republican side now, because as we mentioned at the top, obviously a lot of intrigue here on the governor race to see who will challenge Tony Evers in November. It's really boiled down to a two-person race between Tim Michels, who was endorsed by former President Trump, and Rebecca Clayfish, who was former Governor Scott Walker's lieutenant governor and also endorsed by former Vice President Mike Pence. And this was expected to be a extremely close race. And as you can see here, still only 11% of votes counted, but extremely, extremely close. Just mere percentage points, if even 0.1% separating them right now. The area to watch is going to be the so-called WOW counties around Milwaukee, the Milwaukee suburbs. So Waukesha County, Ozaukee County, and Washington County. Typically, Republican nominees have really done well in this area, and it's an area that Rebecca Clayfish really hopes to win. But if Tim Michels can keep it close there, he's expected to carry a lot of these, they call it outstate counties, up in central and northern Wisconsin. So it'll be interesting to see how these votes start coming in. As you can see, almost 30% of votes in Waukesha County already, and that's still a very, very close race there. Just a couple thousand, if that, votes separating the two candidates in Waukesha County right now. In Ozaukee County, similar story, about 3 percentage points there. So this will be an area that we're going to keep watching through the night because it really could be an indicator of where this race is going. And of course, this is another race that's really dominated airwaves in the last few weeks. And you know, lots of campaign ads. The campaign kind of turning a little negative in the last couple of weeks too, with both sides coming out with attack ads, which you tend not to see too much with Republican races. But both of them really fighting tooth and nail for this nomination, and it's going to be a very close race. We could be here quite a while tonight before this race is called. So we're going to keep checking back on that race as more results come in. You can see here every couple of minutes the Associated Press updating this. So as of 8:35 p.m. now, so that's just a couple minutes ago. So these results will keep refreshing automatically on our page too. So that's the cool thing about our results page at channel3000.com. You don't have to sit there and hit refresh all night. It should automatically refresh if you're sitting there on your phone, on your tablet, or on your laptop. So pull this page up, and we're going to keep following along as well. Just like the Democratic side, some U.S. House races in the Republican contests that were uncontested. Brian Stile in our neck of the woods was unopposed, so he automatically advances. Derek Van Orden out in western Wisconsin in the 3rd Congressional District also ran unopposed, so he will be the Republican nominee in that district. There is a primary in the Democratic side, which is drawing some intrigue there, as Representative Ron Kine retiring after more than 20 years in Congress. So this is possibly a seat that could end up flipping to Republicans in November, but we're going to have to wait and see who comes out of the Democratic side of that contest as well. Continuing on with some of the Republican primary votes, the Attorney General's race also going to be a big race here in Wisconsin in November. Current Attorney General Josh Kaul narrowly won this spot 4 years ago, sort of benefiting with Tony Evers taking the governorship from Scott Walker, but he won that race over Brad Schimmel, the Attorney General's race, by less than 1%. So this is a race that's going to be very closely contested, always is, but is especially drawing a lot of attention given some of the protests that have happened in Wisconsin over the last few years, and some of the high-profile criminal incidents and cases. You've seen the campaign ads probably about the Waukesha tragedy and Kenosha and those sort of things. Republicans really are trying to run on a message of law and order here and trying to take that Attorney General spot back. So 3 main candidates here in a 3-way race. Eric Toney is the current Attorney General in Fond du Lac County. Adam Jarko is a state representative. Kara Mueller is a conservative lawyer. So all 3 of them still kind of running close here, but again, important to note, less than 3% of votes counted right now, as we are just about 40 minutes removed from polls closing. So this will be another one to watch for. A lot of campaign dollars will be spent in that race in the general election too, especially with the possibility of Republicans aiming to take the governor's spot back as well as the attorney general spot back. And of course, they already have control of the legislature. So if they hold all 3, a lot of political experts expect that we could see a lot of changes come in a hurry to Wisconsin in terms of some significant policy points, especially when it comes to prosecution of crimes, prosecution of abortion providers, that kind of thing. All these attorney general candidates in the Republican side have said that they will prosecute abortion providers, whereas Attorney General Josh Kaul said he would urge district attorneys not to prosecute those cases and spend their resources elsewhere. So that is also going to be a big point of emphasis as we head towards November. But as we said, right now, still very early. This just jumped up to about 7% of votes, but still no true clear leader here in the Attorney General's race. We're going to have to check back for that. Another important race in the state assembly that we're going to keep our eye on as well. Assembly Speaker Robin Vos, of course, facing a challenge from a Trump-backed primary challenger in Adam Steen. So, we've been following this story for weeks too, and just before former President Trump came to Waukesha last week to host a rally, he threw his support behind Adam Steen. Because he has been unhappy with the way Robin Vos has been handling investigations into the 2020 election. Robin Vos, of course, saying that he can't really do anything when it comes to decertifying the vote. It's impossible, it's illegal, it's not possible, according to Robin Vos and several other election lawyers and judges and that kind of thing. But obviously this has still been a point of contention Robin Voss helped set up that Michael Gableman investigation, but then Gableman also last week came out and endorsed his opponent, Adam Steen, so adding that bit of intrigue to that race as well. As you can see, no results being reported yet in that county, but this page will update once we start getting results in that race as well. We are still standing by for Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes. He's expected to speak very shortly here in Milwaukee, so we're going to take you there live as it happens. I will set it up here, and we do have a statement now from Mandela Barnes as he's getting ready to take the stage here. One of my producer friends here at the station handing this off to me now. So he is basically celebrating his win, saying, only in Wisconsin would it be possible for the son of a third-shift auto worker and a public school teacher who grew up on 26th and Locust to go on to become lieutenant governor and the Democratic nominee for a U.S. Senate. Of course, it's been a big point of Mandela Barnes' campaign. He grew up in basically the poorest zip code in the U.S. and in Milwaukee, and has been able to work to get to this point. If he was elected in November, he would be, of note, Wisconsin's first black U.S. senator. So he goes on to say, I don't fit the bill of a normal politician. It took me a little while to understand that that's a good thing, because the way we'll change Washington is by changing the people we send to Washington. And that, of course, has also been a line that he's repeated frequently in his campaign. So, as you can see here in Milwaukee, we're awaiting the arrival of Mandela Barnes. He prepares to accept the nomination for the Democratic side of the U.S. Senate race. Going on, we are also taking a closer look at that state several programs along with Mandela Barnes. Quote, Wisconsin deserves to be represented by leaders who have first-hand understanding of the challenges they're facing and their hopes for the future. This isn't about red or blue or left or right. It's about who's been on top and the rest of us, who Ron Johnson has consistently been left at the bottom. So again, taking aim at Ron Johnson right away in this first statement. As we said, this is going to be a long and possibly at times very attack ad heavy fight between Ron Johnson and Mandela Barnes. We saw it with Ron Johnson's statement earlier tonight as well, basically calling Mandela Barnes radical for his views on some of the issues, and trying to say that basically Mandela Barnes wants to quote unquote fundamentally transform America and that kind of thing. So this is going to be a race where this kind of rhetoric is going to go back and forth for months now. And it's going to be 3 months before voters get to make their vote heard at the polls in November. So as we continue to stand by here for Mandela Barnes' acceptance speech, which we said we will carry live in its entirety, we're going to do that for every candidate who wins a major race tonight. So we've also got crews set up at the Clayfish and Michaels campaigns as well. I believe we can actually take a look at one of those right now. So pulling this up, this is the scene at the Rebecca Clayfish campaign office. They are standing by, of course, getting ready maybe for a longer night, because that race between Rebecca Clayfish and Tim Michaels very, very close right now. So we're going to keep watching those results as well.
Barnes, that's what's up.
Milwaukee. Here's a look at the rally there.
My name is John Drew, and I'm the vice chair of the UAW Wisconsin State Cap Council. I worked at Chrysler in Kenosha for 30 years and had the honor of representing UAW members around the state. This is a full circle moment for me and for UAW members around Wisconsin. We have supported Mandela from his first run for office some 10 years ago. We knew he was the real deal back then, but come on. It still feels amazing to be in this room with all of you on the night that Mandela Barnes becomes our nominee for U.S. Senate. Tough crowd. Mandela's story is one that you and I know so well because we've lived it. He grew up in a middle-class union household. His mom, Luan, was a union public school teacher, and his dad, Jesse, was a UAW auto worker. The UAW has been proud to stand with Mandela for the last decade as he has grown and taken on challenges like teaming up with Tony Evers to energize and turn out voters to beat Scott Walker. And we are so proud to stand with him now as our nominee to defeat Ron Johnson and represent us in the U.S. Senate. Mandela knows from his life experience just how important good-paying union jobs are. He has it in his DNA to fight for policies that will help workers and communities, just like he has joined us in our fight to save 1,000 union jobs in Oshkosh. You know, those jobs that Ron Johnson said we didn't need. We got a long fight ahead of us till November, but Mandela Barnes is the right man to meet the moment that we are in. I now have the incredible honor of welcoming someone to this stage who has fought for working people in the U.S. Senate every single day for more than a decade. She is someone who represents Wisconsin values through and through. She has been a great friend to labor in this state and has accomplished so much. And just this week, she helped to pass the historic Inflation Reduction Act. And let's just take a breath and recognize how important that bill is to combating climate change and bringing good manufacturing jobs home. Yes, our next speaker has accomplished a lot. And just think what she can accomplish with Mandela Barnes working side by side with her in Washington. She is here tonight, like all of us, to make sure she has the partner in the U.S. Senate that she deserves. Brothers and sisters, please welcome our Senator, Tammy Baldwin.
To be here tonight. And John, thank you so much for that kind introduction. And thank you to the folks at Cooperage for hosting us here this evening. Let us give due credit and a round of applause to the staff and everyone here who's making this evening possible. Now, Milwaukee, are you as fired up as I am tonight? Not only about what's happened tonight, but are you as fired up as I am tonight to elect Mandela Barnes to the United States Senate in November? I was going to say, I can't hear you, but let's hear you louder. All right. Because if the past 72 hours are any indication, Wisconsin deserves 2 senators who are going to vote to support Wisconsin workers and their families, not just one. As many of you know, on Sunday this weekend, the U.S. Senate passed the Inflation Reduction Act. This is a historic bill that will make big corporations pay a fairer share while lowering out-of-pocket costs for working families on energy, prescription drugs, and health care. I was proud to vote for this bill to fight inflation and to deliver some fairness and relief to Wisconsin working families. But do you know what our other senator was proud to do? Ron Johnson was proud to stand on the sidelines, shoulder to shoulder with big corporations and drug companies who have profited from inflation's rising costs. Now, mind you, this comes after he voted against the bipartisan CHIPS bill that would strengthen Wisconsin manufacturing while also lowering costs for businesses and consumers. To me, it was simple. We need Made in America microchips to better support our Made in Wisconsin manufacturing economy. But apparently Ron Johnson is all talk when it comes to supporting Wisconsin businesses because he voted against this common sense bill. You know, I think folks in the Badger State deserve better. Don't you? We deserve somebody who's going to unite us, not divide us. We deserve someone who's going to fight on behalf of Wisconsin workers and families, not the wealthy and the well-connected. We deserve someone who is going to bring new jobs to the Badger State, not someone who's willing to ship Wisconsin jobs overseas. And we deserve someone who is a public servant at heart, not someone who is there just to serve himself. And that someone is Mandela Barnes. Now, Mandela Barnes has shown an unprecedented ability to unite Wisconsins in a coalition that includes farmers, labor unions, teachers, small business owners, and working people all across this state. He's been able to do it because he gets us. He is a proud product of Wisconsin's middle class, the son of a public school teacher and a third shift auto worker. And he spent the last decade fighting for working people as a community organizer, state legislator, and as our lieutenant governor. I cannot think of a better person to be a partner in the United States Senate as we fight to protect the right to choose, as we work to bring good union jobs back to Wisconsin, and as we rebuild the middle class so we can give everyone a fair shot at the American dream. But I do want to make sure that we take a minute to acknowledge the incredible, and I mean incredible, Democratic candidates that we had running for this Senate seat. You all ran fantastic campaigns, and our party is better off for it. So let's give our other candidates a round of applause. Now, Milwaukee and Wisconsin, you and I both know that the stakes could not be higher this fall. And I know Mandela is the right person for the job. So it's time for us to come together and stand behind him. Behind Tony Evers, behind Josh Call, and behind each and every one of our Democratic candidates up and down the ballot. It's up to us to move this state forward. So I hope you join me in giving Mandela your full support, and I hope you join me in welcoming now to the stage the next U.S. Senator from the great state of Wisconsin, Mandela Barnes.
dream so long. Anybody ever wonder when they would see the sun? Just
Oh my God, thank you all so much. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you, Milwaukee. Thank you, Wisconsin. Let me tell you, I cannot thank Senator Baldwin enough, and I cannot wait to be your partner in D.C. in the United States Senate. Now, I just got to say that this is only possible right here in Wisconsin, that the child of a third shift auto worker and a public school teacher born on 26 and Locust, a graduate of John Marshall High School, can go on to become your lieutenant governor and now your Democratic nominee for the United States Senate. I just want everybody to take a look around this room and realize that we are more united than we have ever been before in this state. And I cannot tell you how grateful I am to be a part of this fight with you. Now, we've had some amazing candidates throughout this entire campaign. I have some friends in the race. I see Alex Lazary in the crowd. I just want to thank you so much. I want to thank you so much for your support, and I want to thank you for the work you did to highlight the issues that matter to working families across Wisconsin. Now, I do have to say that growing up, I didn't see a lot of politicians who looked like me or a lot of politicians who shared my experience. I also didn't see a lot of candidates who had the lived experience of being in the working class. And quite frankly, I still don't. Now, I don't fit the bill of what a normal politician should look like. But I've learned that is not a bad thing. That is a good thing. We need more real people in the United States Senate. Because as you all know, the way that we'll change Washington is when we change the people we send to Washington. And I'm here to tell you that work starts today. Now, I find myself in a lot of meeting rooms, a lot of elected officials, a lot of politicians, a lot of people I'm glad to call friends. And again, there's not always a lot of folks who look like me or share my lived experience, but I think about rooms all across the state of Wisconsin, rooms that look just like this. Rooms full of hard-working, honest people. People who give it their all every single day. People who aren't looking for handouts, people who just want a fair shot. And that's why I'm so proud to still be in this fight for hard-working people, hard-working communities, just like this one, filled with the people who embody the spirit of Wisconsin, the spirit of forward. And I'm here today to tell you that together we will move this state forward, we will move this country forward, and we will continue the fight for good paying jobs that you can raise a family on. I'm here to tell you that together we will move forward to protect the rights of so many people, the fight that so many people have been involved in long before we got here, like the right to vote, and the right and the right for you to make your own decisions about your own bodies. Together, arm in arm, we will all move forward together to ensure that every single person, regardless of their zip code, gets a fair shot at the American dream. And we will turn that American dream into American reality. Together, we will move forward, and we won't let anybody take us back. But we're here today because, unfortunately, we still have one senator who wants to take us backwards. Now, we know that Ron Johnson may say a lot of crazy things, but the reality is what he's doing in Washington is no joke. It's downright dangerous. We're talking about a person who's made millions from special interests while he still wants to repeal the Affordable Care Act. He wants to slash Social Security, Medicare, won't even vote to cap the cost of insulin. This is a person who secured more than $200 million in tax deductions for a handful of his wealthiest donors. But he won't lift a finger to keep good-paying jobs right here in Wisconsin. This is a person who went on to double his own wealth, but thinks that it makes more sense to ship good jobs overseas, good union jobs, family-sustaining jobs, the kind of job that my dad and his dad had. Plain and simple, if it doesn't help his bottom line, if it doesn't help his wealthy donors or his own special interests, Ron Johnson can't be counted on to support it. And while Ron Johnson does the hard work to try to divide us and to distract us from what he's really doing in Washington, the one thing that he does not understand is that each and every single one of us in every community across this great state has so much more in common with one another than we'll ever have with self-serving, out-of-touch politicians like Ron Johnson. I'm here today to tell you that it's not about red or blue, left or right. It's about those who've been at the top and everybody else who's been left behind at the bottom. It is time for a change, everybody. It's time for us to be represented by people who actually share our experiences. I am the proud son of a middle-class union household. And like most people in the state of Wisconsin, I'm not a millionaire. I don't have the backing of big pharmaceutical companies or oil companies. But what I do have is skin in the game. I have the backing of hard work and honest people just like you all in this room tonight. And while Ron Johnson continues to stack the deck against us, I'm here to tell you that we're not going to give up. Because in our greatest challenges are our greatest opportunities. We have the opportunity to bring back good-paying jobs to Wisconsin and to rebuild this middle class. The middle class that gave me an opportunity to stand in front of you today. We have an opportunity to prioritize our family farms and uplift our rural communities, because even though we're in Milwaukee today, we all do better when we all do better. We have an opportunity to make sure that every child growing up in this state knows that opportunity is within reach. And let me let you in on a little secret. This is just the beginning. Now, we have just over 90 days until the election. We're not going to let up. We're not going to give up a single inch. They want to distract us from Ron Johnson's failed record. They want to distract us from the fact that Republicans have done nothing to help out people in this room today, people like us. They turn their backs on every single one of us every step of the way. And that's why we're replacing Ron Johnson. I'm here to tell you that we all know better. We deserve better. We believe in better. And together, we're all going to fight for better. We are going to show up everywhere We're going to leave no stone unturned. We're going to fight like hell, and we're never going to give up. Let me tell you, we are going to fight for our future. And guess what? We're going to win. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm so proud. I'm so proud to be in this fight with you. Thank you, Wisconsin. Let's move forward together. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
The show goes on all night till the morning. We dream so long. Anybody ever wonder when they would see the sun? Just remember when my show was on.
Well, there you have it. You just heard from Mandela Barnes after being declared the winner in the U.S. Senate Democratic primary. He will go on to face Ron Johnson this November. You heard his full comments there. Very excited and very clearly the winner here in Wisconsin as after other people in the race dropped out here. We've got a full look at the results as they've come in now, and of course still only 40% of votes counted right now, but Mandela Barnes with such a lead, 81% of the vote, that the Associated Press felt it was more than enough to declare him the winner of this race, even as ballots continue to be counted. Turning to other races on the Democratic side, while Mandela Barnes was speaking and accepting that nomination for U.S. Senate, we have a result in the Secretary of State race. Doug LaFollette, the incumbent in that race, the incumbent since 1978 in Wisconsin. AP is declaring him the winner in the Democratic Secretary of State race with about 62% of the votes so far over Alexia Sabor. So, as we mentioned before Mandela Barnes began speaking, this Secretary of State race is going to be an interesting one because Republicans have kind of made their intentions known that they, after decades of really the legislature stripping away the powers of this office, basically just making it a ceremonial role at this point, they have declared their intentions that if they win this race, if a Republican wins this race in November, they aim to basically restore this office to oversee elections, which hasn't really been the case in Wisconsin since the 1970s. So that's kind of what's at stake in this race, and they've also kind of made it their indication there that if Doug LaFollette were to win another term, they're not going to do that. So the Republican side of this race, we're going to check in just a few minutes, but this is becoming a pretty important race in Wisconsin too, after years of sort of just being an afterthought. In the treasurer race here, we've got a three-way race with Sarah Godlewski, obviously the current treasurer, not running for re-election because she ran for U.S. Senate before eventually giving way to Mandela Barnes and endorsing him in that race. Right now we've got Jillian Bettino leading this three-way race with 38% of the vote, but again, only about 27% or so of the votes have been counted so far. Aaron Richardson in second place with Angelito Tenorino in third right now. Going through some of the other races, let's hop over to the Republican side because, of course, aside from the U.S. Senate race, this is the biggest race that we've been following basically for weeks now, is the governor's race on the Republican side to see who will go on to face Governor Tony Evers in November. Tim Michels and Rebecca Clayfish still very much neck and neck in this race. About 50% of the votes counted, though, across the state, and this is getting to be pretty important because if you watched our election special on Monday night and some of our coverage leading up to this election, a lot of people who track these kind of election results and keep an eye on these trends focused on this area in the Milwaukee suburbs. They call it the WOW counties. So Waukesha, Washington, and Ozaukee counties, the suburb counties surrounding Milwaukee County, those are typically an indicator of who will go on to win the statewide Wisconsin races on the Republican side, just by matter of population, basically. It's sort of similar to on the Democratic side, where Madison and Milwaukee, and to a lesser extent Green Bay, sort of dictate who's going to come out of the Democratic side. Those are the counties that really decide Republican races in Wisconsin just due to the amount of people that live there. And as you can see, in Waukesha County, almost 89% of the votes counted already. Rebecca Clayfish there with a 7-point lead over Tim Michaels. But in Washington County, Tim Michaels leading Rebecca Clayfish. Granted, there's only 11% of the votes counted in that county so far, but that's definitely something to watch as well. And in Ozaukee County, again, very, very tight race, less than 4% separating Rebecca Clayfish and Tim Michaels. A lot of experts, election experts, sort of theorize that if Rebecca Clayfish was going to win this nomination, she needed to really outperform here, run up the score, so to speak, because Tim Michaels' support pretty much dwarfs hers in the outer counties in Wisconsin. You can kind of see that with who's leading all these counties up north. You know, obviously smaller population centers up here, but on a county by county basis, not really very close vote totals between here. So again, with Tim Michaels leading a lot of these rural and outstate counties, as they say, Rebecca Clayfish really needs to do well in these higher population centers to really make this race as close as it is and to have a chance at winning it. So obviously still only 50% of the votes counted. You're not going to see the Associated Press or many sources really call this race just because it could be very, very close. There were some polls that indicated this could be within 1%. So they're going to be right down to the wire on this. It might be late tonight before we know who's going to face Governor Tony Evers in November, but this is obviously a race that we're going to continue to watch here. Let's check on some of the other Republican races since the last time we checked a little while ago. We mentioned the Attorney General's race, three-way race between Eric Toney, Adam Jarchow, and Karen Mueller. Obviously, this race, another big target for Republicans this November. Josh Kaul, the current Attorney General, Democrat, very, very narrowly won this race 4 years ago. And given the events of the last few years, Republicans feel like they have an opportunity to maybe take back this Attorney General role, and that could dictate, how crimes are prosecuted in the state going forward, especially when it comes to things like election fraud is something that they've brought up, or abortion cases as well, where these candidates have really drawn a distinction between themselves and Josh Kaul. Specifically on the abortion issue, in the days after Roe v. Wade was reversed, Josh Kaul came out and basically said he didn't think Wisconsin's law passed in 1849 that criminalized providing abortions was enforceable. He said he didn't think that law enforcement would be able to enforce this. So he basically encouraged district attorneys across the state not to prosecute those cases, saying, hey, you should maybe focus on things like violent crime, things that affect the communities, instead of putting the resources into prosecuting this. Obviously, that's something that Republican candidates for Attorney General disagree with. They say, all of these candidates say that they will prosecute abortion providers. Now, it's important to remember that abortions basically aren't being performed in Wisconsin anymore. Planned Parenthood performed the vast majority of abortions in Wisconsin, and they shut down those operations pretty quickly, pretty much immediately after Roe v. Wade was reversed. They say that they're going to kind of monitor the situation and see what happens, but as of now, abortions not really being performed in Wisconsin, but nevertheless, these three candidates say that Josh Kaul and other district attorneys should follow the law that's on the books. The candidates for governor also saying similar things and said that they would possibly target district attorneys who didn't prosecute those cases as well. So again, similar to the Clayfish and Michaels race here, this one still only 40% of votes counted in this race, still very close. Although you see Eric Toney and Adam Jarchow seem to be kind of building some separation between Karen Mueller in that race. But we will continue to look back at this race and see how that situation develops. another case here in the state assembly, race that we've been keeping a very close eye on, and one that we now have some preliminary results for, is this Robin Vos race. And this is noteworthy because, of course, last week, former President Trump endorsed Robin Vos's opponent, Adam Steen, in this case, or in this race, I should say. And as of now, 23% of votes counted. So again, very early, less than a quarter of votes counted. But Robin Vos is losing by a handful of votes to Adam Steen right now in that race. This would be, for lack of a better word, monumental if he were to lose this race. It would be very significant to see a sitting assembly speaker basically lose the support of his party and lose in a primary. And also noteworthy in this case, too, there's no Democratic challengers in this race. There's no Democrats running for a primary. There's not going to be a Democrat on the November ballot. So for all intents and purposes, this is the election for Robin Vos. So if he loses this, he's out of a job. And whoever wins this race will go on to hold this seat. So this is also a very, very interesting development here tonight that we're going to have to keep a very close eye on, because this is probably closer than some people may have expected, even with Trump's endorsement of Adam Steen. Granted, it is early, and only 23% of votes have been counted in this race, but this is not a race Robin Vos, needless to say, is used to having this close. So we're going to have to keep a close eye on this as this goes forward, just because this could have some very, very major implications on the future of the Wisconsin state legislature as well. And not to mention, things like the Michael Gableman election investigation, which Robin Vos has set up and has funded with taxpayer money, but Michael Gableman has turned around and also endorsed Adam Steen in this race. So this is definitely something that's grabbed a lot of headlines. You've seen our reporters cover this for a couple of weeks now, especially after the Trump endorsement, and this is a race that we're going to keep a very close eye on for the rest of this night. Moving on down the list here, Lieutenant Governor on the GOP side. So while Rebecca Kleefisch and Tim Michels appear to be kind of running neck and neck right now in a very close race, it's possible that we'll know who their running mate is before we know who is going to challenge Governor Tony Evers in November. Right now, it's Roger Roth, state senator, leading with about 31% of the vote, with close to 43%. Now 44% of the votes counted. You saw that update just pop in now. So with 44% of votes counted, he's got about 31% of the vote here. He's a former Senate president, and in running to be the lieutenant governor, whether it is Rebecca Kleefisch or Tim Michels running at the top of that ticket. We've also got Patrick Testin, another member of the legislature, running in second place at about 18% here. Scrolling on down here to our Secretary of State section on our channel3000.com results page. Again, if you're just joining us, you can find all these results for yourselves. Just pull up channel3000.com on your phone, your tablet, your laptop. It'll be pretty easy to find these results links at the top of our page. Just click that and you can scroll through all of this yourself too, and these will auto update. So as we mentioned, the Secretary of State race really kind of more interesting than it usually is, to say the least, especially when it comes to the Republican side. Republicans have said, and specifically Amy Loudenbeck, who is leading this race right now with almost 49% of the vote, when she declared her candidacy for this, she said it was her intention to restore some of the powers to this office, which have really been stripped away over the past 30 or 40 years to more of a ceremonial role. Republicans want to bring this back and sort of establish powers that are similar to secretaries of state in other states where they run elections and oversee the elections process. Amy Loudenbeck says she wanted to run for this seat so the Republican-controlled legislature could restore some of those powers to that office, and then allowing her to basically oversee the Wisconsin Elections Commission, which Republicans have taken issue with since the 2020 election, and if not, basically just replace the Wisconsin Elections Commission. It's worth noting that Rebecca Kleefisch, for one, said it'd be a day one thing for her, if she was elected, that she would abolish the Wisconsin Elections Commission, which Republicans actually formed not too long ago, and appointed Megan Wolf as the administrator of that bipartisan 6-person panel. So this is another interesting race. As we noted, Doug LaFollette's held this role for decades and decades. He's already won the Democratic side, so this is to see who will face Doug LaFollette. And right now it looks like Amy Loudenbeck out in front with 43% of the vote. State treasurer as well, up for grabs on the Republican side. John Lieber leading Orlando Owens right now. So that kind of covers a lot of the major races that we're following so far, but there are many, many, many races. So wherever you are across Wisconsin that you may be watching this, head over to our elections page at channel3000.com, and you can scroll through and see just all of these contested races. It's worth noting that, in primaries, there are some uncontested races. You saw those at the top of the page where there's just automatic winners, but lots and lots of contested races still, especially on the Republican side for a lot of these state assembly seats. So we've got all these listed here, including that all-important Robin Vos race. So go to channel3000.com, find that election results link at the top of the page there as we continue to get updates throughout the night. So again, just kind of top of the list here, obviously, on the Republican side, the race for governor, Tim Michels, Rebecca Kleefisch, still very much neck and neck, although it looks like Tim Michels is building a bit of a small lead. So now with 62.3% of votes counted, he's got about a 2% lead over Rebecca Kleefisch here. And as we mentioned, a lot of experts said that Kleefisch really kind of had to run up the score, so to speak, in these counties around Milwaukee. Very, very typically a Republican stronghold, especially Waukesha County. But as we've seen here, and you can mouse over all these counties, county by county, to see how these candidates are doing in all these locations. In Waukesha County, a little bit closer than Rebecca Kleefisch's campaign probably wants right now. And that county is almost locked down. You see there 95% of votes counted in Waukesha County. And right now, Kleefisch leading by less than 7% there. But really only about 5,000 votes separating those two candidates there, which is a very tight race there in Waukesha County. In Washington County, we're up to 84% of the votes here. And this is interesting for sure. So you see Tim Michels actually leading Rebecca Kleefisch in Washington County. Definitely not something the Kleefisch campaign probably wanted to see here. So again, that contributing to Tim Michels' lead. Small lead right now for governor in this race. So as we mentioned, this race, excuse me, really expected to go down to the wire, about 2% separating them now. But we'll continue to keep on checking these results, especially as some of these northern counties where Tim Michels definitely is favored start coming in, and he starts, building his lead by a few hundred at a time in each of these counties. Over time, that can really add up. Let's hop back over to the Democrat side. So as we mentioned before, we heard from Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes a little while ago, maybe about 20 minutes ago now. We heard from him. He will be the nominee to face Ron Johnson in November. Those votes still coming in, but obviously with Alex Lasry, Sarah Godlewski, Tom Nelson all dropping out in the last couple of weeks here, pretty much a clean sweep for Mandela Barnes across Wisconsin, as all of those urged their supporters to vote for Mandela Barnes in this primary as well. It seems that they have pretty much followed suit. Going down, this is a new call from the AP. So as about 3 or 4 minutes ago now, the Associated Press calling Sarah Rodríguez as the winner of the lieutenant governor's race on the Democratic side. So that means she will now be Tony Evers' running mate in November, going up against whoever wins that Republican primary. So she will basically take the place of Mandela Barnes, who, instead of deciding to run for another term as lieutenant governor, stepped aside and ran for U.S. Senate. That worked out for him. He's now the nominee for U.S. Senate on the Democratic side. Sarah Rodríguez now will be Governor Tony Evers' new running mate. So she is a state representative. from, I believe, the Brookfield area, first term, really, but she was able to flip a Republican district in 2020, one of only 2 candidates in Wisconsin to beat an incumbent that year. So that was significant, and that really raised some eyebrows in the Democratic Party. So she decided to take the step up in this go-around, run for lieutenant governor, and as you see here, AP calling her, as of 9:22 p.m., 5 minutes ago, the new running mate for Governor Tony Evers, and we are just now into the newsroom getting a congratulatory statement from Tony Evers to Sarah Rodríguez. So I'm going to read a little bit of that here right now, saying, quote, "Congratulations to Representative Sarah Rodríguez on being elected as the Democratic nominee for lieutenant governor. I'd also like to thank Peng He for running a strong race and all that he's done and will continue to do to build a brighter future for our state." Governor Evers goes on, "Whether as a nurse, a public health professional, small business owner, legislator, or as a working mom, Sarah has dedicated her life to solving problems. Throughout her career in the public and private sector, Sarah has taken on hard fights and won. Sarah defeated a 4-term Republican incumbent in 2020 and has been a crucial voice in the legislature advocating for public education, quality and affordable health care, and reproductive freedom. The granddaughter of dairy farmer Sarah understands there is more that unites us than divides us. I'm thrilled to have Sarah on our team, and I look forward to working with her as we address the challenges facing our state and continue to do the right thing for Wisconsin." End quote. Again, that was Governor Tony Evers' statement congratulating Sarah Rodríguez here, as she has gone on to become his running mate this November in the gubernatorial race. So that late-breaking news just into our newsroom here as we continue to check these results. And as we mentioned a little while ago, Douglas Follett, again, the incumbent of several decades of the Secretary of State office, winning the primary there as well. And checking in again on the treasurer race, Jillian Bettino continues to lead that race by about 3% there. And again, as I mentioned, even on the Republican side, there are some more state Senate, state assembly races on the Democratic side as well that we're continuing to follow on this list. So no matter where you are in Wisconsin, you can scroll through and find all of these as well, including the state assembly District 46 primary. This is a seat here in the Madison area. Melissa Ratcliffe currently leading there with about 37% of the vote. And some of these others as well. District 80, also in the Madison area, Mike Baer leading with 47% of the vote, but again, only 38% of votes counted right now as Dane County continues to bring in those results. So we are continuing to monitor all of these results right here, right now, over at channel3000.com. You can pull these up as well. As you see here, we just crossed about the 50% of threshold of votes counted in Wisconsin. So at least that in the Senate race, we're now over about 2/3 of votes counted in the governor race on the Republican side. And again, still remaining extremely, extremely close, only about 2% separating Tim Michels and Rebecca Clayfish right now. As those votes continue to come in, we're still waiting for results in Columbia County in this race. Nothing has been reported yet. Green Lake County, Adams County, Juneau County as well. Still waiting for results here. On the western side in La Crosse County, sort of interesting to see. Tim Michels, with about 97% of votes counted in La Crosse County, has a 5% lead there. About 500 votes separating those two as well. But, you know, as we mentioned, the election experts leading up to this race really said that Rebecca Clayfish, if she was going to win this nomination, really needed to do well in the areas that Scott Walker did well, and that was the WOW counties here around Milwaukee. She's seemingly underperformed there a touch, and that's kind of leading to what we're seeing in the statewide totals, and basically not many population centers to go, really, for Rebecca Clayfish. You see she is leading up in Brown County right now. Only 28% of the votes counted there. Outagamie County, very, very close. Look at that, 99% of votes counted so far. 0.7% separating Tim Michels and Rebecca Clayfish in Outagamie County, another one of those key counties in Republican races. So these margins very, very slim here, and really emphasizes just how close this race could be. Again, we mentioned polling leading up to this race showed maybe 1 or 2% separating these two, and those polls typically have a margin of error about that. So it's really a toss-up on who could win here to go on to challenge Governor Tony Evers in November. And regardless of who wins, they're going to see a big boost in financing, both from the Republican National Party as well as the state, as you know, obviously Republicans kind of coalesce around their candidate once that's decided tonight. But this could be one of those races too where a very, very large amount of outside money comes into this race, because both parties recognize that this race very, very important in the grand scheme of things, especially considering that especially considering that Wisconsin's legislature basically locked down in Republican control for the foreseeable future. Not a lot of districts that are really attainable for Democrats. So Republicans are going to control the legislature for a long time. They recognize that if they get the governorship, they can suddenly put into effect a lot of the things that they want to get passed, whether it's law enforcement things or that sort of thing, or the way elections are run. So on the flip side, Democrats realize how important it is from their perspective to hang on to that governorship. You've seen the amount of bills that Governor Evers has vetoed over the last few years here, and it's created a bit of a gridlock there in the state legislature. But Democrats realizing that this race is also very important to them, so it would not be a surprise to see national money come on that side of the race as well. So this is going to be one of those races where no matter who comes out of this Republican primary, they're going to be very well funded by their party. Governor Evers' campaign is going to be very well funded by their party. And very similar to the U.S. Senate race, we're going to see a lot of ad dollars spent. You're going to see a lot of ads on TV over the next 3 months. You're probably going to get sick of them. But it's going to be very closely contested races on both of these, as we continue to see tonight, even on the Republican side, as we go through primary night here. Again, a reminder, if you want to check these out for yourself, all you have to go is go to channel3000.com. You're going to see those links right there at the top of the page. You can click this link at the top. You can click this one. Also, if you're looking on your phone, it's going to be this top story on your phone as well. And all you have to do is click that link, and you're going to be taken straight to our election results page. And you're going to be able to see everything there. So that's exactly where you're going to want to go to keep an eye on all these results throughout the night and as they come in. And as we mentioned before, these will auto-populate and will automatically update. So you don't even have to hit refresh on your browser. These will come in and update every couple of minutes. You see last updated 9:34 right here, literally just a minute ago. So these are almost minute-by-minute results coming in as this race is still very, very close. As you see, 2% now still separating Tim Michels from Rebecca Clayfish in this Republican campaign. This Attorney General race still very, very close, with about half the votes counted, less than 2% separating the top two candidates in that race. Again, this Robin Vos race that we've been watching all night, updated about 15 minutes ago, 23% of votes in. Again, Adam Steen right now leading State Assembly Speaker Robin Vos. This would be a massive upset and would come after basically Adam Steen received endorsements from former President Trump, from former Supreme Court Justice Michael Gableman, who is running Robin Vos's election investigation. Michael Gableman also endorsing Adam Steen in that race as well. So a lot of late endorsements and a lot of late pressure against Robin Vos really making this a very close and significant race to follow. So we're going to keep following that race as well. The lieutenant governor race, as I mentioned, also still very much contested. There were a lot of candidates for this race. I believe about 8 candidates here, but right now Roger Roth leading the way, pretty much doubling the field here. So it seems like he's building up a fairly strong lead here. It's entirely possible that he might win this spot before we know who his running mate is, the way things are going. But 53% of votes counted there. He's got about 105,000 votes, about 1/3 of all the votes here. So he has built a pretty solid lead over Patrick Testin as those votes continue to be counted as well. And in the Secretary of State race, Amy Loudenbeck continuing to lead that race by about 30,000 or so, about a 10% lead in that race over Jay Schroeder as well. So again, these races continually updating. Very few races called at this point now that we're a little more than an hour and a half removed from polls being closed. We've been doing this live stream for about an hour, and still, as you see, 68% of the votes counted. Still plenty of work to do from clerks around the state as well. So let's hop over to the Democrat side while we continue to wait for those Republican returns to come in. Again, Mandela Barnes, the clear victor in the U.S. Senate race, has already spoken tonight, accepting the nomination. Again, repeating his campaign promise, or his campaign slogan, that he believes it's time that Wisconsinites change the people in Washington if they want to see change in Washington. Again, referring to Ron Johnson, who has served 2 terms there already in the Senate. And Ron Johnson had said he didn't want to serve a 3rd term, had promised to only be a 2-term senator when he first set out, but ultimately changed his mind given the 50-50 nature of the U.S. Senate and the fact that Republicans really placing a large emphasis on that seat of his as well. So again, Mandela Barnes going to face Ron Johnson this November in what's going to be probably one of the more closely watched races across the country, really, not even just in Wisconsin. I did want to highlight this race here in District 3 in the western Wisconsin section of the state. This is a district that was held by Ron Kind, a Democrat, for more than 20 years, but that's also been a seat that has progressively kind of turned more and more red. This is a district that President Trump won in the last election in 2020, but Ron Kind managed to stave off Derek Van Orden in that race and got enough crossover voters, people who voted for Trump and for Kind, that he was able to keep his seat in that case. But he ultimately decided to retire, opening up this seat, as we mentioned earlier in the night. Derek Van Orden, again, making another run for that seat on the Republican side, had no challenger, so he automatically advances to November. The Democrats holding a primary tonight to see who will in their eyes, hopefully replace Ron Kind, and it's Brad Pfaff now, a state senator for that area, who currently leads by about 18 percentage points with 35% of the votes counted. We don't have a closer breakdown of the counties there in this race, but clearly a pretty sizable lead there. He was one of the favorites in that race, but it has not been called yet, so we're going to keep monitoring that race as well, because this is also a district that could contribute to the House of Representatives swapping from Democrat control to Republican control in November. Obviously, a lot of people expecting quite a bit of turnover in midterms. Usually, in midterms, you kind of see a backlash against the president's party. A lot of people anticipating that Republicans are going to pick up a lot of seats in the House and possibly the Senate this fall. So this is a district that has kind of been keyed in on by those national experts as well as one that could possibly flip. So it's going to be one that we're going to keep an eye on as well. As we mentioned just a few minutes ago, Sarah Rodríguez going to join Tony Evers at the top of the Democratic ticket in November. Doug LaFollette also winning his primary, hoping to win re-election in November in the Secretary of State race as well. So, again, not as many races on the Democrat side as contested on the Republican side. And as we continue to check here, we're up to 70% of the votes counted across the state. Tim Michaels still holding that roughly 2% lead over Rebecca Clayfish, about 10,000 or so votes separating those two as well. So definitely something that will continue to develop as we see these votes come in. And just checking some of these counties again, Brown County now up to 28%. Clayfish does have about a 4% lead there. That's going to be an area where experts say she's going to have to do well. Outagamie County, though, 99%, as we mentioned before. Very, very close, a virtual tie, less than 1%. But Tim Michaels now with more votes out of Outagamie County than Rebecca Clayfish, with all but 1% of the votes counted there as well. Still awaiting results from Shawano County in that area, but Calumet County, 50% for Tim Michaels right now, with 54% reporting. Winnebago County, Michaels again up by about 6% with 70% in as well. Fond du Lac County, 96.7%. Tim Michaels a big advantage there as well. So you can see these counties start to come in, and more of them are going shifting towards the Tim Michaels campaign. Again, Dodge County in our area, big 30% lead there with about half the votes counted as well. But you see, again, as we highlighted earlier tonight, these wild counties, Waukesha County 98.6, Rebecca Clayfish as expected winning there, but maybe not by as much, and that's sort of contributing to that statewide number here that we're seeing as well. A lot of experts saying that she kind of needed to run up the vote tallies there, and these are closer margins than maybe a lot of people expected, and that's kind of leading to Michaels taking the statewide lead, because you look at all of these northern and central Wisconsin counties where he's got these leads. Clayfish is making some headway in Lincoln County, it looks like, although that's virtually a dead heat with 36% reporting. Marathon County, 48% for Clayfish as well. That one is about 95% reporting. So again, these are some of the bigger population centers in central Wisconsin as well. So you see her tending to do well in those more suburban areas, whereas Tim Michaels has really rallied that support in the rural areas of Wisconsin. And this is always sort of the thing that election experts look at and analysts look at is where these votes come from and which counties tend to be the indicators. And again, it's these wow counties and then the bow counties, for lack of a better term. So Brown County, Outagamie County, those ones up there in the Green Bay area, also determining some victors as well when margins are as close as they are in southeastern Wisconsin. So definitely something we're going to keep watching. And you're going to be wanting to turn on News 3 Now at 10 in about 15 minutes here as our team kind of breaks down everything that I've just talked about. But we've also got people in the campaign camps for Rebecca Clayfish and for Tim Michaels. So we have our reporters on the ground there. They're kind of assessing the room and all of that. So, you know, and they're going to be there the moment somebody decides to speak, whether it's a victory or concession speech. We're going to try to bring those to you as soon as they happen. This is the Rebecca Clayfish campaign site now. You see some people kind of milling around right now. Not a lot going on. As we mentioned, they're still trying to watch all these results come in. So they're going to keep watching these results just as we are. And let's pull up channel3000.com again. You see that map as it is right now. Again, as we mentioned, Tim Michaels, very, very slim lead, 2%, with 71% now reporting as of a minute ago. And as I mentioned earlier, too, if you want minute-by-minute results, this is the place to go, channel3000.com. We have that link at the top of the page. Literally every minute, the Associated Press is updating these results for us, and this map repopulates, and you can go county by county to see all the trends. You can see how people voted in the counties that you live in. For example, in Dane County, Rebecca Clayfish building a 7% lead or so in Dane County as well. So you can go county by county. You can see this other map shows the size of a lead in a county. So again, you can kind of see where these trends are developing. Look at this here. Clearly, you see that the big Michaels lead in the Fond du Lac County and the Fox Valley, as we indicated, but Clayfish doing well in southeastern Wisconsin and in Dane County as well for the Republican voters here in Dane County. So you can go county by county. You can kind of break down and do your own analysis, so to speak, too, over at channel3000.com as these results start coming in. Let's take a look now at the Michaels campaign, see if anything's happening there. That's a live look from the Michaels campaign down in Waukesha. So again, similar to the Clayfish campaign, they've got the map. You see that up in the top left corner. Well, somebody's just stood in the way, but they're likewise breaking down these results with the rest of us, keeping a very, very close eye on these results and just kind of waiting for some news to come out. So again, as I said, our plan is to take this live as soon as some of these candidates start speaking. But you're definitely going to want to watch News 3 Now at 10, coming up in a little more than 10 minutes with the latest from all these camps, as well as if you missed Mandela Barnes' acceptance speech earlier tonight. We're coming up on close to maybe about an hour ago now. He took the stage to accept that nomination. We will have those sound bites from him as well. Tammy Baldwin also speaking in support of Mandela Barnes as well. We're going to have all that. We're going to have, Will Keneally, our political reporter, kind of break down things on what we can expect to keep an eye on going forward. All sorts of analysis coming up on News 3 Now at 10. We'll flip over to that at 10 o'clock. But in the meantime, just keeping a close eye on these results as well. Close to 3/4 of the votes in this Republican governor primary here. And again, Tim Michaels up to about 2.7%. So little by little, it appears that lead appears to be increasing. I know some political experts have speculated that it looks like Michaels may be on his way to winning the nomination. It's still too close to tell. We want to be very clear about that. Still about 25% of votes left to be counted, and in a race where it could be decided by 1 or 2%, that's still a lot of votes that could still swing things. But as we noted, the trends for the Clayfish campaign, probably not what they want to be seeing in these counties in southeastern Wisconsin as well. Let's take a look at some of the other counties in our area. Walworth County, we have Clayfish up by not quite 3% there. So again, another slim margin there. Less than 400 votes separating the candidates in Walworth County, as 87% of the votes are in. Rock County, still only 25% of the votes counted there. So this could be another significant county as well in this race, given the ties to Paul Ryan and Brian Stile in Rock County. Tim Michaels, though, up 50% of the vote with a little less than a quarter of the votes there. So still plenty of votes to be counted in Rock County as well. The other counties along the state line, no results yet for Greene County, Lafayette, or Grant County as well. So we'll keep an eye on those as they come in. Popping over to Iowa County, again, only 18% there in Iowa County, but Tim Michaels, a small lead there, given reminder though, only a few hundred votes have been counted in Iowa County, so those results could change in a hurry as well. Up in Sauk County, Baraboo area, Tim Michaels, 50% of the vote with almost 80% counted so far, so a decent sized lead for Tim Michaels there. But again, Columbia County, nothing being reported yet, and we should mention, too, this is not unusual. Some county clerks prefer to do things all at once as opposed to kind of this trickle of precincts. So not super unusual to see some of these counties still with no results reported as we approach 2 hours after polls closing. There's plenty of reasons why some of these smaller counties especially may not be reporting votes yet as they wait to get word from all their precincts. And some of these counties towns are spread far apart, and it takes a little bit longer to count these things. So that would explain why some of these counties as well, still the white ones are ones with no votes, no leaders right now. So Heading over to western Wisconsin, La Crosse County, again, 99% of votes counted, and Tim Michels, 47% there. I would say not terribly surprising considering, again, this is the district I was talking about with Derek Van Orden that Trump had actually carried in 2020. So not a huge surprise then that Tim Michels, Trump's endorsed candidate, appears to be coming out on top in La Crosse County as well. Same deal with Monroe County in that same congressional district. So there is that as well. So as these results continue to come in, again, about 69.5% now, almost 7 out of 10 votes in Wisconsin have been counted in this race, and it's a little less than 3% in favor of Tim Michels right now. This is going to come down to the wire, so we're going to keep an eye on this throughout the night. I do want to check on some of the other races that we've been following throughout the night. Again, Attorney General, another important race. This is one that was decided by less than 1% in the general election in 2018, so one that could come down to be very close no matter who the nominee here is for the Attorney General on the Republican side right now. Fond du Lac County District Attorney Eric Toney continues to lead that race, as he has pretty much since we started getting those results in, but again, very slim, about 1 or 2%, if that, separating these two candidates. Adam Jarko, a state representative, in second place right now. And here we go. The Robin Vos race, very, very close, now up to 99% of the votes counted. Robin Vos has taken that lead back from Adam Steen. So this has been a race that we've been closely watching, especially considering former President Trump endorsing Adam Steen, Michael Gableman endorsing Adam Steen. He was one of the people featured when President Trump went back to Waukesha County last week, and through that support, mostly behind Adam Steen and Tim Michels. And Vos has taken a lot of heat from some portions of his party for the way that he's handled the fallout from the 2020 election and other things. Some people feeling like he hasn't done enough. Vos saying he's done what the laws allowed him to do, and that's led to a very, very contentious primary race here, but still so close that with 99% of votes counted, the AP is not comfortable making a projection here. So still only a few hundred votes separating Assembly Speaker Robin Vos from his challenger Adam Steen. If he were to lose, this would be a pretty monumental deal, our political reporters tell me, in that there would be a pretty big power vacuum in the state legislature. Robin Vos has sort of been the face of the Republican-led legislature for years now, especially when it comes to butting heads with Governor Evers. If he were to lose, suddenly the Republicans would have to find a new leader in the state assembly. Who that is would be anyone's guess at this point. But right now, as we mentioned, 99% of the votes counted. Robin Vos hanging on to a very, very slim lead here, but by far, by no means a sure thing, with still just a few hundred, if that, votes separating these two candidates here. So that is definitely a race we're going to continue to watch coming up here on News 3 Now at 10, just because of the big implications that could have across the state. Even if you're not in his district, that the fact that the Assembly Speaker could possibly lose his seat is a big deal. So that's something that we're going to continue to watch throughout the night here as well. Popping down to a last couple of races before we duck out for News 3 Now at 10. Now would be a good time to get to your TV and turn on your TV to Channel 3 and tune in as we have these live results as well, and our teams across the state giving live reports. But very quickly here, the Lieutenant Governor's race. Again, too close to call the race between Clayfish and Michels, but it seems Roger Roth is building a pretty sizable lead here to become the running mate for whoever does win that race. 65% of the vote in. He's got roughly a third of those votes. The only candidate over 100,000 votes at this point. So Patrick Teston in second place, but a fairly distant second place at this point. Secretary of State Amy Loudenbeck again announced her intention to sort of pursue this office as a way to create some oversight over the elections process in Wisconsin. She is pretty sizably ahead here with 65% of the votes in, 47% of the votes so far. Looks like we have a new race called from the Associated Press just a few minutes ago. State Treasurer on the Republican side, John Lieber, wins that race over Orlando Owens. So that is a new call as well. John Lieber will advance to the November primary on the Republican side for State Treasurer. Just again, popping over really quick to the Democrat side before we go over to News 3 Now at 10. Mandela Barnes, the clear winner there. Brad Pfaff up to a 20% lead for Brad Pfaff in District 3. So with only 38% of the votes counted, but still a 20% lead for Brad Pfaff there in District 3. So he appears to be the front runner in that race. As we mentioned about a half hour ago, Sarah Rodríguez winning the lieutenant governor's race. So she will be the running mate for Tony Evers. Doug LaFollette, the incumbent Secretary of State, advancing to the November election, surviving a primary challenge from Alexia Sabor. State Treasurer on the Democratic side, we have a nominee on the Republican. We do not yet on the Democrat side. Jillian Bettino still in the lead there, but very much neck and neck with Aaron Richardson of Verona. So 46% of the votes counted there. Very, very much still up in play as well. So some of these other races too, as we mentioned, we're checking state assembly races. Melissa Ratcliffe in District 46, about 36% of the vote there over Syed Abbas. Alex Jors in 79, very much ahead, 73% of the vote. And Mike Baer in Assembly District 80 has 48% of the vote, but less than half of those votes have been counted so far. So that's a rundown basically right now of where those races stand. We're going to continue to check in on these throughout the next half hour or so. I'd highly encourage you to go watch News 3 Now at 10. I'm going to pop the feed over to that momentarily so we can get the latest election coverage there. But in the meantime, go to channel3000.com if you want to keep watching these results live refresh. As I mentioned, you don't even have to refresh on your browser. It's going to refresh for you, so you can keep an eye on this governor's race if that's what you're really interested in, the Robin Voss race or any of these other races. Just go to channel3000.com. You can easily find that elections results tab at the top of the page and scroll through all these results to find the race that you want to watch. So in the meantime, I'm going to duck out for a little bit now. We'll bring you News 3 Now at 10, and we will be back at 10:30 or so if there's more to cover after that. So thanks for tuning in, everyone, and we will go to News 3 Now at 10 right now.
Being added up, the results are coming in.
The biggest race is the statewide one, the Republican primary for governor. And here are the latest numbers. Businessman Tim Michels is ahead right now by about 13,000 votes. He, of course, was endorsed by former President Trump over former Lieutenant Governor Rebecca Clayfish. She has 44% to 47% right now. And Tim Rantham, State Assemblyman Tim Rantham, is in third place with 24,000 votes.
Well, we have crews at each of the candidates' watch parties. Armand Rahman with the Michels campaign. That's in Waukesha, and Tahlil Mohideen with the Clayfish event in Oconomowoc. Let's start with Armand, who is live in Waukesha. Armand?
Yeah, Eric and Charlotte, the excitement is pretty high here as Michels maintains that high lead. Actually, a lot of people out of their seats waiting at the door for him to come inside here, waiting for any sign by the other candidate to show. Now, Michels has run before for Senate primary in 2004 when he won, but he lost the general election against Democrat Russ Reingold. Now, he did vote earlier today at the polls. A couple of his key issues: abolishing the Wisconsin Election Commission, considering decertification of the 2020 election results, as well as school choice and yielding a lot of power in education to the parents. Now, again, Michels' lead appears to be growing, but it's still pretty close to Rebecca Clayfish's, and the excitement here, pretty happy, the vibe, pretty excited as they await Michels to come in and give a speech. For now, back to you guys in the studio.
All right, still a very close race. Armand Rahman live tonight in Waukesha at the Michels Watch Party. Armand, thank you.
The other frontrunner, former Lieutenant Governor Rebecca Kleefisch. She has been campaigning around the state alongside former Governor Scott Walker and former Vice President Mike Pence. Our Tahlil Moeddin is live at her watch party tonight in Oconomowoc. Tahlil?
Eric and Susan, there is a lot of excitement in this room right now, and people started pouring in as soon as the polls closed at 8. For the most part, they're laughing, chatting, and just generally having a good time. But as those results keep coming in more and more, they're keeping an eye on their phones for those numbers, hoping to get one step closer by the end of the night to calling their candidate governor. Now, beyond the people in this room, Rebecca Kleefisch does have some big names behind her, receiving endorsements from former Governor Scott Walker and former Vice President Mike Pence, who dubbed her the proven conservative. Now, it's her experience serving under Walker as Lieutenant Governor that she's hoping will carry her through this primary. Now, we haven't seen her just yet today, but we are, of course, expecting to hear from her once the election is called. But for now, back to you guys in the studio.
Tahlil, thank you, reporting live tonight in Oconomowoc.
Well, next, this was a big race, but it turned out to be the foregone conclusion many thought it would be after other candidates dropped out late. A runaway in the Democratic primary for the U.S. Senate, Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes easily winning a race that was called just 27 minutes after the polls closed.
Our Catherine Merck is live in Milwaukee. She is at the Barnes event tonight. Catherine, what's the feeling in the room there now?
It's been about an hour now since Mandela Barnes came out and addressed the crowd after his big win, and the excitement has not stopped here anytime since then. As he walked out tonight, I saw the crowd absolutely erupt in excitement for his victory, and it's clear based on that the Wisconsin Democrats have his support here. In his speech, he talked about how tonight is just the beginning for his campaign as the focus now shifts toward November.
We need more real people in the United States Senate. Because as you all know, the way that we'll change Washington is when we change the people we send to Washington. And I'm here to tell you that work starts today.
And while the celebrations are not stopping here in Milwaukee anytime soon, it's back to business for Barnes tomorrow. He's going to start another campaign where he gets back on the road to try and rally more support as he goes up against Ron Johnson this November. Reporting live in Milwaukee, I'm Catherine Merck for News 3 Now.
All right, Catherine, thank you. On the Republican side of the Senate, Senator Johnson did have a primary competitor, but this too was also called within 30 minutes of the polls closing. Now, another race that has quickly gained national attention. Look at the numbers here in the 63rd Assembly District. That is Speaker Robin Vos up against relative unknown Adam Steen. Now, this would have been the shocker of the night and demonstrate, at least in that part of the state, how much clout Donald Trump still has with voters there. Vos apparently hanging on, but this is still with 12% of the votes out. Again, look at the margin there, less than 300 votes separating those two. And a few more local races in the Assembly's 80th district that covers Verona, Oregon, Mount Horeb. Mike Baer, a Russ Feingold protege, leads Anna Halverson, incumbent Sandy Pope retiring there.
In the 46th district, which covers Sun Prairie, McFarland, and parts of Madison, Dane County Board Supervisor Melissa Ratcliffe is leading right now with 100% of the precincts reporting over also District 12 Alder Saeed Abbas. Incumbent Gary Hebel, by the way, this is his seat. He is retiring after 20 years in this position. Every election, we're also keeping a very close eye on any potential problems at polling locations. As of tonight, we have not heard any word of any issues locally, so no news is good news so far on that front. Voter turnout was expected to be a bit low, particularly in more blue parts of the state. Within the past half hour, Dane County is reporting more than 120,000 votes being cast today, with several reporting districts still out.
Well, if you're looking for the results of a particular race, they'll be scrolling at the bottom of your screen, or check out our new interactive election map. It's all at channel3000.com. Beautiful day to get out and get to the polls. Here's your certified most accurate forecast meteorologist, Julian Seawright. Beautiful night on the outdoor backyard patio.
That's right. We have a gorgeous night on tap for us, and it's going to be pretty gorgeous throughout much of this week as well. But taking a look at how we stacked up for it today, it was great dog walking weather for us, and on top of it was just a great day to just be outside. 80 degrees was our high for today, and it honestly didn't even really feel like it. But normally around this time of year, it is around 81 degrees, so we were close to seasonable. But folks, it felt just flat out great, especially after last week where all that humidity and even the storms from this weekend. Honestly, today was quite a gift. Take a look at the temperatures around southern Wisconsin. 66 in Madison was 70 in Janesville, 68 in Platteville, and our friends over towards Boscobel were at 62 degrees and 63 in Fort Lone Rock. So a nice night already, and it's just going to get better as we continue throughout the rest of the overnight hours. Dew points are, we can feel a little bit of the humidity, but overall it's still rather comfortable as we're kicking off tonight, and it's just going to get better as the hour continues to move forward. Taking a look at the upper Midwest in itself, dry conditions, and it's going to be like that. Any kind of activity that we're seeing is really to the south of Illinois and just south of Missouri, and we're seeing just a line of some showers, which in itself is still starting to lose some strength. Now tomorrow is looking to be a bit warmer, but sunshine is sticking around. Still going to be get outside weather for us, but we're going to plan out because we could see some changes coming into our late evening hours going into our Wednesday, and we'll tell you when and where in just a few moments. Until then, back to you guys.
Julian, thank you. Senator Tammy Baldwin spent her election day in Madison talking electric vehicles. She toured the lab at Franklin Electric in Madison to check out the latest innovations in electric vehicle charging. Senator Baldwin supported President Biden's sweeping infrastructure bill passed last year, which set aside $5 billion to build a national electric vehicle charging network. Wisconsin will receive nearly $79 million from the federal government to build electric vehicle charging stations.